You are tuned into 91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. LocalMotion airs each and every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the LocalMotion on 91.3 WVKR YouTube channel, as well as giving it a like on the Facebook page. Today's guest, let's get him on air now. Neil?
Hello.
Hello. How are you, my friend?
Hey.
You're here.
I'm good, Rita. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. There's so much to talk about with you. I love your venue, and thanks for taking your time here today and being a guest on the show. So I know you've done it before, and I just, I saw you that weekend. I'm like, come on, let's come back on the show.
Yeah, I was going to say, I felt like I just saw you. What show was that?
Nels Klein with Joel Harrison.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and guess what? I haven't announced it yet, but we are live on air. I'll announce it because it was largely part because I was at your place. Nels Klein will be my guest here on LocalMotion on July 13th.
Woo, that's great.
Woo-hoo.
Great.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. No, that is really cool. He was stoked about it, and I was just like, okay. Because I remember talking to you. I'm like, should I just go up and ask? And you know what? What happens when you ask? Sometimes things work out the right way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
50-50 at worst.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but let's go back. Let's talk about you. Neil Howard is my guest today. You are a co-owner. You and your wife, Alexia, own the beautiful venue up in Woodstock, New York called Colony. Let's go into some history because you guys are fairly new owners. You've had it for quite a few years now, but you personally are from...
Actually, we were just talking about that. This coming, I guess a week from, whatever is the 11th? Is that a week from? Yeah, May 11th is the 5-year anniversary.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that's great, man.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary. That's a week from today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just obviously kind of crept up on us because with COVID, you kind of forget stuff like that. But,
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So that's half a decade.
That's half a decade. And, when you're like self-employed and you own a business, to get through 5 years, that's always the hardest years from what I understand. So bravo to you and your wife.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
No, you guys.
Well, I've been saying that all along. I mean, with COVID and us having to do, we were joking about how you need to sort of pivot a lot, and then we were pirouetting after a while because there were so many pivots in a row. But there's something to be said about how the challenges, you build up this sort of muscle about it, and after this, 2-year period, I think running a regular venue operation, which in any year is crazy, it'll seem much easier now. It's ironic how the challenge has made the day-to-day challenges much smaller.
Neil, you can get through anything running this business now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, we feel very
Yeah.
tried by fire.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, Neil, you're from California.
Yeah, I'm from just outside San Francisco, a little town called Lafayette, California.
Oh, nice, yeah. And you grew up with music, or what's your background and how you started liking music? I know you're also an actor, right?
Yeah, exactly. Acting and kind of creativity, drawing, little things like that. When I was a kid, I chose acting right around 6 or 7. That was my thing. And I just kept on doing that in local theater and stuff growing up. And just that was my ambition. And then sometime around, I guess, my late teens or 20s, I had roommates who were musicians, and I sort of got the bug of guitars and stuff. And I started, messing around with playing a little guitar. And so my 20s, I still acted, but I started having this little secret songwriter kind of identity in my basement every night.
Oh, nice.
And then after years of that, I finally realized, what's the point of doing this unless you actually get out and perform? So I went out and did it. And then I do it all now, I guess. But I'm just starting to get back into the music. I've been so obviously focused on getting the Colony up and running for years now that I've let so much of my other creative endeavors completely, go to
hell.
fallow too long.
Right.
So,
Right.
But they all add up. I've met a lot of great musicians. If I want to start a band in Woodstock, I can probably do it in 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah, all you have to do is make a couple of phone calls. You have people lining up. So you got a pretty nice rehearsal space,
and world-class friends of mine willing to do any sort of favor. So it's just crazy to think,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I hope you go do that and start that up soon. You studied at NYU. Is that what brought you to the East Coast?
No, actually, I got up there and did a film course when I was in New York. But what brought us out was Lex, my wife, she was working as a consultant in San Francisco when we met, and we've been together, I guess, a couple of years. And she had a recruiter called her out of the blue and said, "You want to come to New York and do all this fun stuff?" And and she's like, "Well, I would, except for my lovely friend and husband here and life here." And I said, I'd love to live in New York if you really want to. So Sure enough, we ended up moving for her job. And, as an actor, musician, New York is not the worst place to be at all.
No.
So I was very, very happy to tag along, shall we say.
How'd you find the Hudson Valley?
I love it. I mean, it really reminds me of the Northern California. Yeah. There's a lot of comparisons, both. The winters here obviously are a lot more extreme, but I spent a lot of time in San Francisco and in Berkeley, and the feeling in Woodstock and sort of the neo hippie kind of culture thing has been around me my entire life. It seems like. So,
absolutely.
I mean, going from Haight-Ashbury and Berkeley to Woodstock, there's I didn't miss a beat.
No, absolutely, very clearly united both places. So, how did you find the Hudson Valley?
It was complete randomness, really. We were without a car. We left. We had an old, Sebring convertible that we left in California for a couple of years, and then my brother, whose garage it was in, said, "You got to get rid of it, or I'm gonna, do something to it." So we basically forced ourselves to go out and drive it back. We did this little road trip, and then we had a car in New York City, and you don't do anything with that unless you really plan on doing things, because you don't really shop or do anything with a car. So we decided to start taking day trips on the weekends. And literally the very first one was Woodstock, because it was, exactly 100 miles, 2 hours. It seemed like a perfect, experiment in driving. And the rest, as they say, is history. We parked near a real estate place, and we happened to be looking in the window before we left. And the realtor came out, this lovely lady named Rusty. And she said, "You guys seem funny and funky, and give me your number, and I'll send you some interesting stuff if you're ever interested." And sure enough, she sent us these lovely little cottage and barn kind of listings that we ended up coming in and ended up buying one. And that brought us to Woodstock. And then we were customers at the Colony for a number of years when it was open sporadically, shall we say.
Yes,
then,
I was going to say there was no real rhyme or reason. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. You really couldn't keep track. You kind of had to drive by and keep the lights were on, and then we would go and have a great time. But every time I was there, I would always look around and say, "What is the story here?" I mean, I always figured there had to be a reason it wasn't sort of fixed up, like it was damaged beyond repair or something like that. Some engineer had said, just let it go.
Right.
So, but it turns out it just needed a lot of time and love and effort, and it's pretty much rejuvenated now. It still needs a lot of work, of course. It always will.
Right,
it's a very old building.
Well, the Colony Hotel is how it opened in 1929, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. There was I kind of lose track of the ownership, but basically there was a huge hotel on the mountain, the Overlook Hotel, and either the first person or the second person who owned that, I think, was Newgold, who built the Colony as well as sort of a kind of halfway stop between guests for him. They would because apparently it was really hard to get around in 1929.
Right.
And you would have to there was dirt roads and stuff like that. It wasn't just cars and roads. It was like a little more onerous travel to get up a mountain. So they would take their time to get to the Colony for the first night and have like dinner and dancing, and then go up, take the whole day to get up the mountain the next day and stay up on Overlook for 2 weeks or whatever it was. So it was like very much a sister to the bigger hotel. And,
right.
There's a lot of similarities. You can see like certain windows, and I've noticed the ruins up on the mountain are very much. You can see similarities to the window casings at the Colony and stuff. It's very fascinating.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful building. Your website, I just want to throw it out there if people are listening and they just want to Google it, colonywoodstock.com. Some great pictures, some history, and all of that on there. So you and your wife bought this beautiful venue, and you knew what you were getting into, right? Because you had been there. So how long did you have to close it down and do all the repairs that you did and the improvements?
Well, that's the funny thing. A lot of people, I think a lot of people who haven't done anything of this scale don't realize how much work goes into it, because it was almost comedic how many people said, like within weeks of us getting the keys, they said, like, "So when are you going to open? You're just going to basically paint it and reopen, right?" And we're like, painting is not going to cut it. It was major invisible, like structural stuff in the basement, and like stuff that people don't even realize happened at this point, but it was absolutely necessary to get done. And then, of course, the aesthetics and the new bar and fixing up the kitchen and all that. But no, I mean, there was a lot of people just assumed it was like it's fine and you could just sort of change the light bulbs and get a band and start going for it. But we ended up doing about 2 years of serious renovation. Like we removed complete floors and replaced them, and there's a lot of rot down low. There's a lot of moisture below the basement, stuff like that. So,
well,
we're getting there.
All the stuff that you and I even talked about, at that show there. I don't know. You've just like poured your heart and soul into that place, both of you, and it shows. It shows. I also, and I told you very honestly, I'm like, oh my God, your food there.
Yeah.
Some people would say, oh, maybe just Colony is for music. People forget about that. Go there to eat dinner and see the music, because your menu kicks ass. The last 2 times I was there within the past 4 or 6 weeks or something, I had schnitzel one night, a chicken schnitzel.
Oh, the schnitzel is incredible.
Oh, my God. I loved it. And then the next time I came, I had a special, the Jamaican jerk chicken. Killer.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah, that comes and goes. We don't always have that, but we often do that during like reggae shows and certain things. It just sells out every time too. It's just addictive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things.
It was so good. But I have your menu in my hand, and whether you want a little snack or a little appetizer or you want a sandwich, I mean, just your main dinners. I mean, your schnitzel, you have fish and chips, you have pork chops, you have mushroom raviolis, not to mention the daily weekend specials that you have there as well. You've got like 10 different...
That's just it, though. I mean, it's so hard to thread the needle between like having, some basic offerings for a venue and then going a little bit more involved in having some real good meals, and then also not going for a full restaurant, because you're kind of leaving yourself wide open for a lot of loss if you have too much to offer. Right?
Exactly.
So it's like you have to it has to be sort of a best of a greatest hits kind of concept at all times. And that's why the specials come into handy, because we can always try new stuff all the time.
I think your menu is ideal because it's got a little something for everybody. So if you just want to have a couple of snacks, you can get wings or calamari or cauliflower wings, whatever you want. You've got great sandwiches as well. You've got 10 different desserts to choose from, and just amazing. And your bar it's like old school, the bar, and the bartenders are always super cool people, super friendly, and they know their stuff.
Yeah. So we've always been weirdly lucky when it comes to staff. I mean, and staffing has been anything but easy. But it seems like when we find people, we find amazing people.
Yeah.
It's just it's been a challenge, of course, in the last few years. But,
right.
It's definitely. What I like is that, no matter what happens, people will come and go in the restaurant industry. It's just inevitable. It's the nature of the beast. But when you sort of shake the strainer a bit, and the people that stay there for years are just incredible. They're like just great at their job, and they all become like family. And it's a really nice feeling. Right.
And the customers keep coming and recognize the same people.
That's a huge part of it. People come back. I mean, I can't remember how many times I went to see shows a lot in San Francisco. But I don't really recall going back and seeing the same necessarily, like the bartender, like, oh, there's Dave, whereas in the Colony, we really have that. You can really go back and see many shows and sort of get to know the staff,
Right. And your sound guy, I have to do a quick shout out to Max Siegel because I adore him, and he's a cool guy. Mac's been around the block for a long time, and boy, I tell you, I've seen him at your place too. Now with COVID, you open this beautiful venue, and then you get hit in March of 2020 with COVID.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah, that was rough too, because we actually had some serious momentum going into that spring and summer. We had the canceled summer of 20. Was it 20? Yeah. It's all so fuzzy. No, we had some big names and some sold out shows, and it was just like we really felt like this is it. We paid our dues, and we're known enough now. We've won like the second best venue in the Hudson Valley or some sort of, we had really kind of hit our stride. And then, And then COVID basically makes venues a thing of the past for like, a whole year. It was just crazy.
It was, but you guys have a beautiful outdoor space. Talk to me about the creation of the beer garden.
Yeah, well, that's just, we're still working on getting it permitted for essentially permanent use. Not the same level. I mean, there were complaints about about the volume of some bands last year, which is obvious, and we definitely kind of dropped the ball in terms of keeping track of what was acoustic and what was appropriate, because we had this new sound system and we were very excited about it. But the crux of that story is that Alexa and I always wanted to do an outdoor space, like a beer garden. There's places we used to hang out in San Francisco and New Orleans. There were these large, lovely, green spaces that are just beautiful to hang out in the fresh air. And we always knew the space behind the colony would lend itself to that when the time came, but it was a huge project that would have to wait, right? Mm-hmm. So we had just approached the town in like the end of 19, or I think it was January of 20, with our, package, shall we call it, a presentation of what we're going to say about how we want to develop the back area. And they were like, this is great, this is exciting, it'll take a long time to get it approved and stuff, but it sounds like a good idea, and we're all for it, let's figure it out, and then let's sit down and have a bunch of meetings. And like right after that, COVID happens, so we essentially got emergency dispensation to say, like, you can't do anything but the beer garden now.
Right.
So go ahead and do the plan you submitted, quote, temporarily, and then we'll figure out everything else later. And right now we're deep in the figuring out phase. I mean, to the point where tomorrow night is I'm not sure if it's the last meeting. I think I'll call it the next meeting about how we're going to pull this off, because there's definitely some people who have a right to not hear us in the distance every night. But at the same time, if we can pull off a way to be open and not offend them, then we want the right to be open. We were hoping that they don't legislate the idea of music outside completely.
Right.
I mean, that's a war we don't want to fight. If anything, I think we'd win it, but I don't want to take it that far. I think it's just a question of, can we do this and make everyone happy? And I really think we can, because the people who like coming out to the garden and seeing the music are more than happy. I mean, there's a huge majority of people who want the beer garden to exist.
I personally don't know anybody that doesn't want it to exist. I'm sure there's some, but not in my world, right? Now,
but of course, I mean, yeah, but we would be completely rude to not consider the idea that there are, any dozens and hundreds of people that live within physical earshot of the place who, it isn't right for them to hear a party going on every night. I mean, I don't like the exaggerations that they've come up with. They've said it's like every night, long into the night.
No.
And it's like, no, it always ends before 10 o'clock, and it's 4 or 5 nights a week at most.
Right.
And, we got rained out a lot of the time. A lot of times it's acoustic, so the notion that we're sort of egregiously breaking the law every day is completely wrong.
Yeah, the music's done by 10 o'clock. I mean, come on, it's 10 o'clock.
I mean, the noise ordinance is 11 o'clock as it is.
Right,
so,
right.
But we have this new speaker technology that we're going to be hopefully successfully trying out in the next
you're sharing this now.
Weeks. Yeah, well, it's on order.
Okay.
So, I'm hoping it's coming, and we're going to see how it works, and then I don't think it'll solve every issue, but it'll certainly make it more plausible for people to be out in the garden, having some music audible, even if it's just piped in, but it won't be disturbing anybody else.
Right. Now, when we say beer garden, the beer garden you really can't see from Rock City Road, which is where Colony is. It's behind your building. Yeah. So you go back there, you've got a nice bar set up outside, you've got this amazing stage. You really went crazy on the sound system. It's all nice and level. There's no hills to climb or potholes or anything like that. And you have
even more so now.
Yeah. How many picnic tables are there, Neil?
Oh boy, it's I think it's over 60 at this point.
Wow.
I added a few bunches at the end there because we were we just needed a little more help there. But I think it's 65 or something like that.
Wow.
It's kind of misleading too, because they say they're for 6 people, but I'm a tall guy, but at the same time, nobody more than 4 people can comfortably sit at these things. It's really just a 4 top unless there's children involved.
Right.
So people anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no. I mean, I sat there with 6 people, and it was really comfortable last summer. So, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, but it's great. It's cool. It's just a great vibe. Again, website. Check out pictures and Facebook and socials and all of that. Colony Woodstock. Now, if you wouldn't mind, because I thought this was so cool when you and I were talking about it at the Nels show. Talk about what you are doing with this sound thing here, because it's pretty new in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it might be that we might deliberately be the first venue to be using it. Certainly in the U.S., as far as I know. That's what the people who are supplying it might have said. Basically, it's and I'm not a scientist at all. I'm not a sound engineer at all. But as far as I can see, it's like a directional speaker technology where you can sort of stand in one spot and hear something fairly loud, but stand 3 feet to your right or left, or beyond an invisible barrier, and it's essentially silent. And they've been able to figure out this way to there's no bleed, so like you can kind of walk through a wall and see. I mean, you hear music and then it disappears again. You could actually probably set up that there's different quadrants. So like one table could be listening to reggae, and the next table could be listening to jazz. It's that.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow.
It's super science fiction, so I'm hoping it might be the solution that us and every other venue outside can use, because it's a real question. I think outdoor music is going to be a real, hot point for years to come with COVID and what's to come after.
Right.
So I think the solutions have to be found for people to enjoy live music without necessarily disturbing the peace.
Absolutely. What can the public do to support Colony during this planning meeting that you have tomorrow? Is there somebody we can contact, or the Woodstock Planning Board, or send an email or anything like that to support?
Yeah. There is. Oh boy, I should have it here. Of course, I don't.
I think I do. The article that was written, I printed it. That's the Hudson Valley One article, and the email that I have is planning@woodstockny.org. So if you're a supporter of live, local, outdoor music and you want to support Colony, send a nice email and say you want to keep this going at the Colony Beer Garden. I think it's important. The more people that get out there and support you and maybe one or two other venues in the whole area during COVID were the only ones that were open, and you were a lifeline for many of us people. And, because you guys, by having that music and having it outside and distanced, and it just felt like, like everything was normal for just a few hours while you were at your place. And I mean, I heard that multiple times a day the entire time we did it. It was kind of beyond gratifying to know that you were like really presenting an oasis of escape for people. And I mean, to the point where I almost felt guilty about it, because me and my staff were there. We were kind of in it, figuring out how to do it from day one. So we never really had that kind of long, dark night of the soul where we sat stuck at home for 3 months wondering about the world. So, you know what I mean? So right.
We kind of felt even more grounded in like a place like, no, things are normal here. Just come here and be normal with us. It almost felt like a guilty pleasure, Right.
So your plan now is to, everything going well, assuming you're good to go, you're going to open the beer garden and do the inside. The inside shows will have ticketed events, or how is that working?
Yeah. The inside, as of now, the plan is the inside is going to be exactly as it always has been. It's going to be, right now we're doing doors at 6. That was sort of like winter hours, but we're going back to doors at 7.
Mm-hmm.
And but we've always been doors at 7, show at 8 for our inside entertainment, and that's going to be the case ongoing. And since we have that now, which we didn't have during the first 2 years of the beer garden, we will essentially, we'll be dropping our beer garden hours, not operation so much, but like the performance times. It'll be essentially like a happy hour kind of music presentation out there.
Mm-hmm.
From 5 to 8, not necessarily loud, not necessarily a band, but basically just, some sort of musical stuff going on.
Right.
And then the regular show inside, and people can hang out inside or outside. We still haven't figured out how we can have, people hanging out outside who aren't ticket holders for the show inside without having a lot more security issues.
Right.
So that's still a work in progress and stuff.
But knowing you...
No, it used to be Go ahead, sorry.
Neil, you're going to figure this out. You've figured everything else out. So I have all the confidence in the world to you.
Thank you.
Last year, I was like amazed. When I rattle off, I do this segment on the show at the end of the show, musical happenings, because I'm all about supporting live music here in the Hudson Valley. And I always, like do Who's at Colony. Man, I couldn't keep up with it. You had like 5 acts outside every day, that you were open, and it was so cool.
Yeah.
It
was actually kind of crazy, and even more so looking back. We basically put on a festival, a continuous festival for the summer. And it was a lot of booking, and
a lot of work.
Like I said, we have some amazing staff, and we had Jim, and then Julia, and then just people have been taking care of. They stepped up to the beer garden thing, and they knew it was important to people. It was.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff to deal with.
Yeah, it felt like a love fest going there. That's for sure. I also want to commend you. I have a policy here on my show that I only promote venues that have COVID safety protocols in place. You get a red star. You get 101% grade. You get the GPA of 4.0. You guys killed it. You guys are killing it. And for that, and for keeping us so safe while trying to meander around this insanity of this pandemic, I'm telling you, Neil, my hat's off to you. You have done such a good job. I feel so safe when I go see a show at Colony. You walk in, I mean, it's just the air, everything about it. Tell me what right now, currently, your protocols are at Colony.
Well, the one change we made just recently, because things are seemingly, relaxing a tiny bit, we added proof of recent test is okay. We were doing just vaccination only the entire time. And we got a lot of grief about that, obviously. There's definitely a lot of anti-vax sort of, energy out there that was coming our way. But then again, if the opposite is also true, if we were ever lax about checking that, we would get a lot of, people who are worried that we're not checking it. So you can't, you kind of get beat up coming and going.
Yeah.
It was no fun.
Right.
But, our biggest change, and we have, and I can say this because as far as I know, it's 100% true. We've had like zero instances of COVID at our club.
That's amazing.
Amazing. And I think it's because early on, we got on this waiting list, and early on, like within a few months of COVID, we found our way to get these hydrogen peroxide diffusing filter machines kind of thing. They look like fans, essentially.
They do. They're wacky looking. It looked like from the 24th.
Yeah, I know. We call them Minions because they kind of remind us of Minions from Despicable Me,
Yeah.
But anyway, they keep the atmosphere in the room like slightly saturated with some hydrogen peroxide in the air, and this is something they use in hospitals, and it keeps it essentially like impossible to transfer any sort of viral load between through the air. It's like you can get sick from kissing someone or something like that, but that's about it.
Right.
And so we have 2 huge ones of those and a bunch of little ones, and they seem to work. So knock on wood. We've had a lot of I mean, we've had some sold out shows in there, and not everyone, frankly, was wearing a mask at every second. And it was like, oh my God, what's going on? And then like it's because it's really essentially impossible to go around to make everyone wear the mask at all times. I mean, we're encouraging it to a degree, but we also don't want to be bullies and badger people all night long when they're trying to have a good time.
Right.
So it's hard to get it right.
But it's cool because the people at the front door there, your gatekeepers, they do a great job, right?
Oh yeah, no, we're checking temperature at the door. We're checking vax cards. We actually have a contact tracer, Jackie, on the door.
Yep.
Who's her full time job is to not fall for fake vax cards.
Yeah.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
So, knock on wood. I mean, I am so tired of talking about that kind of stuff, to be honest. Not to you, not literally, but at the same time, I can't wait for that subject to be not an issue anymore.
Absolutely.
It's so divisive.
It is.
We've had a lot of, sometimes we get up in the morning and the voicemail machine at the colony literally has like threats and like just angry people screaming at us.
What?
Yeah. I mean, there are people who take it so seriously that we're doing the wrong thing somehow, and it's like they don't realize it's the only thing we could do. It's either this or don't
open
for the time being, which is not an option. Exactly. Yeah.
You can't please everybody. Yeah. And if it was the other way around, and then it's no good either. So again, hats off to you and Alexia, because really, this isn't hard. This is hard, and these last couple of years are extraordinary in our history. And for you guys to just maneuver it and take the roller coaster ride every direction that you've had to and come out the way you are coming out now. Again, I commend you, and I mostly just want to say thank you for the 99% of us that just approve, and thank you for keeping the safety stuff going. And I know it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass for all of us, trust me. But you know what? To know that you're going in someplace and it's, it's taken care of, and you're looking out for people's safety as number one, you can't say anything more than that. So bravo to you guys. That's why you're here for 5-year anniversary. Let's all email the Woodstock Planning Board listeners, planning@woodstockny.org. Let's help Neil and Alexia. Tomorrow night is a planning board meeting to discuss the permission to continue outdoor live music at 21 Rock City Road, which is where Colony is located. Now to talk about
22 Rock City.
What is it?
22 Rock City.
Oh, well, it was wrong in the article, but I won't tell anybody. Anyway, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So upcoming shows, you got a couple of things that have already sold out, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of stuff coming up that's sold out. You have Cinco de Mayo tomorrow. You have dinner specials, which you posted on Instagram and I believe Facebook as well. Got some really good stuff coming up there tomorrow, Cinco de Mayo. You also have a mixtape 80s dance party happening tomorrow, which is cool. And
it's basically just going to be a big food and drink dance party tomorrow night. It'll be great.
Yeah,
essentially.
Oh, fun stuff.
I'm looking forward to Friday, though. Louis Prima Jr. I don't know. I'm a huge, as is evidenced probably by the room itself. I'm a big fan of the old days. I listen to 30s and 40s and 50s music all day long. I'm just a born in the wrong decade type of guy.
No, maybe you're just.
So I'm a huge fan of Louis Prima.
Uh-huh.
And Louis Prima Jr. is coming on Friday, and he played not last year, but before COVID. And sweetheart, very total pro, has been doing this. Son of a legend and now a legend himself. But he puts on such a great show.
Oh man, I was just playing him when you and I started the conversation, and I didn't get to finish it, so I'm going to play the song from the beginning. So Louis Prima Jr. and the Witnesses at Colony on Friday. Saturday, I'm also going to play a track by Slade Cleaves, and
he's great.
Huh?
Slade is great too. I haven't seen him before, but I've been checking him out, and he's basically he's an Austin, Americana singer-songwriter type, which is so my. As a performer, that is like my kind of my bag. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And
I'm a huge fan of solo singer-songwriter performers, and I'm not sure Slade has a band. He probably has a little bit of a band with him, but generally songwriter stuff is really my bag.
Gotcha. And speaking of which, you're a great writer. I'm missing these posts by you, by the way. You kept us going with all this beer garden posting all summer long last year, because it was like, what's he coming up with today? So your creativity shone through every single time you posted. So
thank you. That was almost a selfish exercise in giving myself a daily deadline. I need to get back into doing that.
I hope you do. I hope there's a little encouragement, because it really was fun, and it put a little chuckle on most people's faces. So that was cool.
I had a lot of people coming up to the beer garden saying, like, "Do you really write those?" Because blah, blah, blah. It was like, really, it was lovely.
Well, who would you take it from, right? I mean, who could you take this stuff from? It was just so unique and original by all means. Sunday, you also have Ellie Winninger and Becky Brindle coming. And I love the fact that this is how venues support local musicians. You actually have an open mic, and you have one every single Monday. And, it's been preempted a couple of times. Sometimes there's a big band that comes through and swipes on Monday, but generally it's every single Monday, And how cool is that? Because that lots of times is the first place anybody goes to go get their music heard, and it's nice that you open your doors to let that happen. So that's a cool thing. So
I mean, I come from my background in San Francisco. I mean, I've played some real gigs over the years, but generally, my lion's share of my musical life has been open mics and just meeting, and I love it.
right.
It's amazing to show up someplace with a guitar or even be able to borrow one and have a few songs that you're proud enough of that you want to get up there and share. And it's not a huge agenda of like, oh, I'm a pro and I'm touring and I need a show. It's more like you just want to sort of share songs. It's a very old-fashioned kind of tradition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done this where I used to travel with a guitar, but then I started realizing I could borrow one almost anywhere. So, but I've done open mics in London and Dublin and New Orleans and, God knows the list goes on. But every single time it was like so easy to find the special one. You just ask around a little bit.
Right.
And they'll say like, oh, yeah, Checkpoint Charlie is funky. You should go there, So you end up in this place you wouldn't have gone in any other way. But you meet people as more of a performer than a patron, and I don't know. I could literally talk for a whole show just about open mic culture because to me, it's how I met my wife. It's how I met all my best friends.
Oh.
I mean, it literally is the reason I am the man I am today, and the friends I have today.
So I love that.
Having one at the Colony and knowing the community that's building there. And we used to have this guy, Jim from Kansas, who worked with us as one of our managers since we opened. One of our founding fathers, and he's gone back to Kansas, hopefully not forever, but for the time being. And then Brendan O'Shea, is wonderful Irishman, has been in New York, and now he's with us as a bartender and running the open mic. He's an incredible professional player in his own right, and he's been hosting it now, and it just gets better and better. And there's still people who are like barely out of diapers, so to speak, like the first performance they've ever done. Mm-hmm. And somebody who's like basically retired professional who still plays for fun, and they all feel comfortable playing together and for each other, and it's so supportive. It's just beautiful.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful, and not every venue opens their doors to this. It's it's really, really cool.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, I played enough open mics where the sound system was either non-existent or it was terrible that you're like, okay, I don't necessarily need to go back to that one.
Right.
But the pleasure of a good open mic at a good club is that you get to hear yourself like better than you ever have.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of an amateur. Yeah. And you've never really been set up by a proper sound guy with a proper PA, and then like, oh my God, it's like an addiction. You feel like it's better than your headphones at home.
Absolutely. I've talked to countless musicians, and every one of them says your sound system is creme de la creme. It's like up there, and they love playing there because of the
so
sound.
Great here. We do hear that a lot. The bands generally, as far as I know, every single band that's played there has had a great time and really enjoyed the way we treat them.
Yeah.
It's very important.
It is.
And I come from a background of, I've shown up at a club with a guitar and a drummer and a bass player and said like, okay, you wait over here while we figure out where the light switches are. I've shown up for a bad gig as a musician, so I know what it's like.
Right.
And I think we put the musician's experience right up there with the customer's experience. So they go away having a great time. Their managers tell a friend, and we get other bands from the same label. It all spreads like a good rumor.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good news. That's how it goes. And I love the diversity of music that you have. So now you're also having every first Wednesday, not tonight, but next month. Every first Wednesday, you're doing a jazz night. Which I think
just locking it in now. We're going to do a first Wednesday's jazz. Last Wednesday's Grateful Dead night, and then we're going to be doing the middle two, kind of what we've been doing, like kind of no cover, beer garden style, local bands, stuff like that.
Perfect.
I really want at least a couple nights a week where there's no cover and donation only.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And tickets available, colonywoodstock.com. You've got a great lineup. I talk you up every single week. I believe in your venue. I love your venue. The coolest vibe, and it's just relaxing. It's just a really great vibe. It really is top notch. So I commend you. And listeners, please send an email to Woodstock Planning Board in time for tomorrow, Thursday's meeting on getting this permit going on the outdoor beer garden. Planning at woodstocknewyork.org. Let's support Colony because we need live music to continue. And outdoor live music is even better, right? In the summertime, what a great thing to have. So
Yeah, there's nothing like it.
yeah, and oh gosh, it's wonderful out there. So you've got a great lineup coming up. There's too much to list. I listed this weekend. I go week to week. Again, just visit colonywoodstock.com to check out the lineup. You can get tickets right online. And yeah, Neil, you are a rock star. I love your club. Thank you for doing what you do for Woodstock and the live music scene and supporting the local musicians with all the different things that you do. So I thank you.
Honestly, I'm just so pleased to have any sort of input at all, man. It's just amazing to be part of it. It seems to be like there's really exciting things happening in this part of the world right now, and to be part of it at all is just amazing. So.
Yeah, it really is, because I remember years where Woodstock had nothing, and I would always walk into Colony too and just be like, man, just wish someone would just buy this and love this place, because this could be wonderful. And I also want to say the other thing too, you have the best parking right across the street. You have this great town lot there, so never have to think about, oh my gosh, where am I going to park? It's right there. You walk across the street, boom, and you're right there. Check out the menu at the Colony Kitchen as well. Again, colonywoodstock.com. Neil Howard, you're a blessing for live music, and
oh, Rita, you're a blessing too. But seriously,
well,
thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All the time. Anytime. Just really, anytime you need ticket giveaways or anything, just use me. I'm here. So, this all goes around. We all have to support each other. So, I'd be happy to help out in any way I can. And let's get those emails going. And let us know what happens tomorrow, if you would, on the social factor.
Oh, I will.
And good luck to you. And I'm going to say the real majority of people are behind you, and with everything that you've got working out with these speakers and stuff, I have a feeling we'll be outside in the beer garden soon enough.
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
All right. Have a good night, sir. Thank you, and I will see you soon.
Thank you, Rita.
All right.
I'll talk to you again soon.
Yep. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
91.3 WVKR. That was Neil Howard, the co-owner of Colony in Woodstock. Again, great lineup, colonywoodstock.com. Please consider, if you love to go out and see live music, please consider sending an email to the Woodstock Planning Board. They're having a meeting tomorrow night to discuss the approval for permission for live music at the beer garden at Colony. So the email to write to the Woodstock Planning Board is very simple. It's planning@woodstockny.org. Again, planning@woodstockny.org. Just a quick note of support for the beer garden and keeping the live music going and all of that. So if you're up in Woodstock, even if you're not, take a ride. It's worth it. I love that place. And let's keep the live music going here in the Hudson Valley. Now, I tried to play this track before Neil came on, but we only played half of it. And he was just talking about Louis Prima. And let's take a listen to this track. And this guy will be at Colony this Friday. Let's take a listen here on 91.3.
I eat out to pass the twice step because she is so nice. Angelina, the waitress at the pizzeria. I eat soup and minestrone, the first thing you ever know. Angelina, the waitress at the pizzeria. T-boy, baby. Angelina, I adore you. I live for you. And I'll pass your name. You have set my heart on fire. Oh, Angelina. She'll listen to my songs. I ain't touching my rapping so that you ain't on Angelina. No, it was that the pizzeria. Well, it should be then I'll go to matrimony with the girl that serves spaghetti, and Angelina will be mine. Come on now. C'è la luna mentre vai, non poteva fare. to do. See the dude, you're the gun, then you do I. You can make a simple instrument that I'm on a day. See the instrument, the people here, come on. Oh, mama, zumba, zumba, bacala, let me hear ya. Oh, mama, zumba, zumba, bacala. Oh, mama, zumba, zumba, bacala. Zumba, 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 bacala. Hallelujah, let's party, mama, baby, money, darling. Pick me a good darling, mama, me a punch out the do. See the room, yeah, big shadow, eat the bar, eat the baby, simple bacala, about a day. Sing the big bandits here, bacala, about a day. Oh, mama, zumba, zumba, bacala. Oh, mama, zumba, zumba, bacala. Oh, mama, zumba, zumba, bacala. See, see, goes to mama. Hey, oh, mama, zumba, zumba, bacala. I don't look at oh, mama, zumba, zumba, bacala. Oh, mama, zumba, zumba, bacala. Wheel up, wheel up, wheel up, wheel up, wheel up. Up, up, ooh, ooh, keepa, oopa, Charlie the Birdie.
91.3 WVKR. Louis Prima Jr. and the Witnesses singing Angelina. They will be at Colony in Woodstock this Friday night. Sounds like a show that is going to be getting you up and dancing. Great horn section on that as well. Louis Prima Jr. and the Witnesses. Thank you to Neil Howard, co-owner of Colony in Woodstock, for being today's guest. If you missed part, or maybe just tuning in now and you missed the whole interview, it'll be uploaded on the LocalMotion on 91.3 WVKR YouTube channel tonight, as well as the Facebook page by the same name. So we're nearing the end of our time here together, and this is the time of the show where I do what's called musical happenings. I list venues in alphabetical order in the hopes that you go support live music and these wonderful area venues that we are lucky enough to have right in our own backyard. Let's start with the Bardavon. This Friday, May 6th, Josh Ritter at the Old Dutch Church in Kingston. May 7th, Audra McDonald. Barnstock in Woodstock, also barnstockny.com. June 25th is Mike Fahn, Peter Einhorn, Jim Donica, and Matt Garrity. Bearsville, Woodstock, also bearsvilletheater.com. May 5th is a jazz dinner. May 8th, Mother's Day jazz brunch. May 13th, Stella Blues Band. Bethel Woods Center for the Arts, also bethelwoodscenter.org. May 28th, The Who with opener Willie Nile. Caramore in Katona, info at caramore.org. Opening night is June 18th with Yo-Yo Ma and the Knights. June 25th, the American Roots Festival featuring Molly Tuttle and Golden Highway. City Winery, Hudson Valley in Montgomery, and info at citywinery.com. Tomorrow, May 5th, the Weight Band. Colony in Woodstock and colonywoodstock.com. Tomorrow, Thursday, Cinco de Mayo, mixtape 80s dance party. Friday, Louis Prima Jr. and the Witnesses. Saturday, Slade Cleaves. Sunday, Ellie Winninger and Becky Brindle. And every Monday is an open mic at Colony in Woodstock. Dogwood in Beacon and dogwoodbeacon.com. Thursday, Jack Grace. Friday, Eugene Tyler Band. Saturday, Primo. The Falcon in Marlborough and live at thefalcon.com. Tomorrow, Latin Jazz Express celebrates Cinco de Mayo. Friday, Split Bill with Jim Keller and Lost Leaders. Saturday, Osmosis. Sunday, Mother's Day brunch with Saints of Swing. And Sunday evening jazz series with Adam O'Farrell's Stranger Days. Fisher Center at Bard College. Info at fishercenter.bard.edu. May 7th and 8th, the orchestra now. Jazz Forum in Tarrytown. Info at jazzforumarts.org. This Friday and Saturday, May 6th and 7th, 2 shows each night. Scott Robinson Quartet. Jazz Stock in Kingston at the Senate Garage. Tomorrow, Luke Franco, Jimmy Madison, John Menegon, and Tim Rugisis. That's at Jazz Stock. Info at jazzstock.com. Levon Helm Studios in Woodstock and levonhelm.com. May 6th and 7th, Foy Vance. May 13, Mid-Lake. May 14, The Water Boys. May 15, Eric Krasno and Son Little. May 21, Dirt Farmer Festival with Mavis Staples and the Midnight Ramble Band. The Stissing Center in Pine Plains and thestissingcenter.org. May 7th, Misty Blues returns. June 10th, Bruce Molsky. Tarrytown Music Hall and tarrytownmusichall.org. Tomorrow, May 5th, Josh Ritter. Friday, the Yacht Rock Experience. Saturday, Westchester Symphonic Winds. And Sunday, Houndmouth. Town Crier in Beacon and towncrier.com. Every Thursday is an open mic. Friday on the Salon stage, Toland Brothers. Friday on the main stage, Adam Ezra Group. Saturday on the Salon stage, Tannersville. Saturday on the main stage featuring the American Pink Floyd Show. Mother's Day Sunday brunch with Judith Tulloch. Sunday evening, the Cabo Project on the Salon stage. Last but not least, Marco Benevento presents a festival, one-day festival, Follow the Arrow at Arrowwood Farms in Accord, June 18th. Info, arrowwoodfarms.com. Marco will be my guest here on the show June 15th. We'll be talking all about that upcoming festival. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you again to Neil Howard for being my guest here today. I'm going to leave it out with a track. I'm going to go out with a track by Slade Cleaves. This is another performer who will be performing Saturday at Colony in Woodstock. And please, again, if you can send an email to the Woodstock Planning Board to support the music outside of the beer garden in Woodstock. Their meeting is tomorrow. The email would need to be sent by, tomorrow afternoon for them to get it. The email again is planning@woodstockny.org. And I will be back next week with guest Scott Sherrard from Little Feat, and in 2 weeks, guest John Regan, and then I'm going to take a couple of weeks off. So tune in again next week, and again, if you give a subscribe or a like to the LocalMotion YouTube and Facebook pages, always much appreciated. So let's take a listen to this right now of Slade Cleaves, and I'll see you all next Wednesday, and thanks again for tuning in to LocalMotion. Until next time, I wish you peace.
Pull the engine with the block and chain. Got the oil pumping just before the rain. In the gravel drive, it's a Pontiac. Come the weekend, you'll find me at the track. It's a 74, Dad bought it new, still mostly stock, and it's rusted through. I only worry about what's underneath. What she looks like don't mean a damn to me. 'Cause you don't need that flash and shine.